It's always blame the cop.
Yep.
Blame the cop for everything when they're actually there to protect and serve.
Exactly.
That's their duty.
Yep. Because those same people that talk like that, every cop is still willing to lay down their life for that individual, regardless of how they feel about them.
Yeah.
This is Peyton with Girls Gone Right.
And this is Megan, and we have a very special guest with us today. This is Cory McNeal from the Collegedale Police Department in Chattanooga, Tennessee. How are you, Cory?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Welcome to Nashville.
Thank you.
So how long was the drive?
A little short of 3 hours, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I always forget the time change.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's right. So Chattanooga, that is Eastern time.
Eastern time.
Okay.
Yeah. The east side of the state is in that Eastern time zone.
It's so crazy to live in a state that has two different time zones because I always forget.
I know.
And the weird part about my drive is after you get through Chattanooga, going through Lookout Mountain, after that, it goes into Georgia.
Yes.
Right back into Tennessee and time changes.
gosh.
And then like a little sliver of Alabama too. Yeah. You like go through 3 states all at once.
That's so crazy.
It is crazy. Well, thank you so much for coming out. So you and I met on Instagram, like 2 years ago, it seems like.
2-3 years ago?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's been that
doesn't.
long, but on my way here, I was trying to think about, gosh, when did we meet on Instagram? But it was during the height of COVID and kind of all the BLM riots, and somehow or another, your page popped up and I saw that you were a police officer, and I love my men in blue, and I had to follow, and we connected that way. So been friends on the internet ever since. And the first time we met in person.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I asked Megan, like, wait, I thought you maybe you knew Kevin. I'm like, we were like, I have no idea. So we're like, it must be something, but that makes a lot of sense because Megan loves watching body cam footage.
I do. Do y'all have body cams?
We do.
That's great.
We do.
You should put that on YouTube.
Yeah.
If I could, I would.
Yeah. You probably have to go through the department and get all the kinds of
but Megan
clearance.
would watch it.
I would. I would 100% watch it. I go home, people, and turn on body cam footage. Huge fan of body cam footage. Love to watch people.
Megan, we were sitting there one night and she's like, no, I need to find one that's spicy. Like, this one's not good enough.
I just love the Karens.
A better one.
The Karens?
I love the drunk Karens.
Now that I know that, I'll just start shooting them your way.
Yes.
I
Oh my gosh. I love the drunk ones that are like, they go through such a roller coaster of emotions because they start out, trying to pull the crying card.
Oh, don't get me
And then
started
they get
on those.
confused and then they get mad. All right. So, Cory, what interested you in becoming a police officer?
So, my grandfather on my mother's side, he was a sheriff's deputy in Cook County. And my uncle was a state trooper in Illinois. So it was always something in the back of my head. But specifically, I remember I was a junior, senior in high school and hanging out with my friends after practice, football practice, and we're at a gas station. And squad car pulls up. And the guy that gets out happens to be a guy that goes to my church.
Wow.
The older guy. And he got out, his uniform was clean, everything was squared away, and I was like, man, that guy looks really cool. Like, I didn't really have a perception of police at the time.
Yeah.
So that was my first real encounter with one. And it kind of left an impression.
I was about to say, lasting impact.
Yeah, big one. So that, and I'm in contact with him to this day, and he's a good guy, but he's a big part of the reason I'm doing it. It's just his presence. So I carry that with me today, and how I carry myself, especially in uniform, because you never know who's watching and what impact you're having on people.
Yeah.
So that's
so important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How long have you been on the force?
4 years now.
4 years. Mm-hmm. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
34.
34. Okay. Yep. So 30?
30.
Yeah.
Right at 30.
Nice.
Yeah, I did military, went to the Navy at 18.
Yeah.
Left Chicago, saw the world. Came back, worked a few normal jobs, doing personal training for a few years.
Yeah.
And moved down here. And my sister, who lived here at the time, was like, hey, there's an opportunity to put yourself through the academy, which makes you a little bit more valuable because departments see that you're already trained up. So I put myself through the academy and got on with a wonderful department. So
that's great.
That's so cool. What does the academy look like? I've had a family member that went through that, and he's a police officer, but I never actually asked what it was like. So what does the academy structure look like?
It's so every academy is going to be different, but the main focus is to bring you in there and kind of strip you away of certain mindsets and ideas and kind of build you up into this police officer based off the state standards. It starts off with 5:30 PT, so you're up running, working out at 5:30. Then you get about maybe 25, 30 minutes to shower, and you're in seat classroom for 8 hours.
Wow.
It's intense.
Yeah. There's a week worth of driving, and then there's a week worth of shooting at the range that you go through. And then there's a lot of other things that state mandates, but most of it is classroom.
How long? So you kind of touched on 1 week of this, 1 week of that. How long is it?
It's about 12 weeks.
Okay.
Some are 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My cousin said that you have to go through a mental fitness type questionnaire where they sense how mentally stable you are. Because the situations that you could be in are very scary, and a lot of people have that fight or flight.
Yep.
And you need to learn how to control that to make a good decision. Did you have to go through that?
Yeah, so there was a pre-screening before you got accepted to the academy. You had to do a physical, and you had to do a mental evaluation. And this consisted of hundreds of questions that pretty much repeated themselves. So it would ask, have you ever thought about hurting someone? And then 20 questions later, it's reworded.
Yeah.
So it's meant to really, if you're not paying attention, and you know, but I kind of see why they do it.
Yeah.
You know, some people get to a point where they just start.
It's kind of like a personality test.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's extensive. But that whole process with getting in kind of weeds a lot of people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the people that I just want a badge. Well, jump through these hurdles and see if you still want it. So.
Yeah. So what's a typical day on patrol look like for you?
I wish every day was typical.
Yeah.
But I mean, you never know what you're going to get. So I'm entering the city around 5:30 in the morning and relieving night shift going home. And from that point forward, it's whatever the city throws at us.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just making sure that I'm prepared mentally, physically, try to get up and stretch. And it's just, like I said, you just never know.
Never know.
Some mornings I'm trying to grab breakfast and I'm 10 minutes and eat, and then I'm chasing somebody. And
right.
You just never know. So, but always looking to serve.
Yeah.
First and foremost, I'm looking around for, people that might need help. I'm looking around for bad guys, more or less, people with ill intentions around the community. Yeah. And the thing I've noticed is there's so many people that go about their day and they're not aware of what's going on around them.
Yeah, situational awareness.
Yeah. And, and I get it. People are in a bubble. They want to wake up, go handle their business and go home. Yeah. But there needs to be someone there watching what's going on around.
And that's what you guys are there for. And I think a lot of people have missed that point. Mm-hmm. It's always blame the cop.
Yep.
Blame the cop for everything when they're actually there to protect and serve.
Exactly.
That's their duty.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Because those same people that talk like that, every cop is still willing to lay down their life for that individual, regardless of how they feel about them.
Yeah.
So
that's a good perspective.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people also don't know how to treat officers, especially in a situation where maybe you got yourself in something and you're going to get arrested. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they don't know how to respect authority. Mm-hmm. And it leads to a bad outcome because they blame the cop, right? But they're not the ones that know how to respect the authority and listen to the cop. Mm-hmm. And I think that causes a lot of bad perspectives. Absolutely. And people just have a bad taste in their mouth because they watch these body cam footage or they hear these stories or it becomes a big media scandal. But if you look at it from the other side, a lot of people just don't respect authority.
No.
When you are asked to drop everything and you're getting arrested, you do it. Yep. You listen to the cop. A lot of people are
listen to the
back.
commands. Mm-hmm. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned from watching live PD, which is called On Patrol Live, which if you've never seen it, I highly suggest watching it because it opened my eyes to so many things that police officers go through. And I'm just watching this on TV, but it's a problem of people not being able to take accountability for their actions.
That's the word, accountability.
Mm-hmm. They are faced with a situation that they don't want. They don't want it.
Absolutely.
But you got yourself into this position.
Got yourself into it, yeah.
Yeah, and if you're so innocent, that's fine. Get arrested, get
Yeah,
handcuffed.
take it to court.
Yeah, go to the, I guess like the police department, give your statement and everything. You have to follow the law.
Exactly.
And I think like people are caught in these situations and they run, which is always a bad idea.
That's terrible.
Now you look guilty. They're like, well, I'm not guilty. Then why are you running?
Right,
exactly.
Yep.
These aren't my pants.
Exactly. That's like innocent people don't run. I think any reasonable person would be like, yeah, he's up to something.
Yeah. And then they catch him and they're like, oh, no, I'm innocent. Like, if I wasn't doing that. Okay, then why did you immediately run?
Yep.
So it's a lot of people just don't know how to listen to authority. And I think they see that from movements like BLM.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And defund the police. They're like, well, you can't trust the police, so you should run when you see one.
Yep.
And it's a lot of these situations and these things going on, the culture that tells you not to respect authority.
Yep. That's it. It's the culture. We have a culture problem. And it's like you said, you can sit there and you can listen to the rhetoric. You can scream BLM, but when it comes time for you to deal with and you've been held accountable for what you did, they're not going to come to save you.
Yeah.
There's around 800,000 police officers in the nation.
Wow.
You pull up 10 videos and show me what officers did wrong, I can show you 790,000 of officers doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that falls to the media, that falls to what's popular right now. Because a lot of people have an opinion. They never had an experience with the police officer. It's just they share what everyone else is saying.
Yeah.
So and that's the biggest thing right now is just culturally.
If you just listen to the commands that the officer gives you, if you've done nothing wrong, then you've done nothing wrong. But the minute that you cop an attitude or you refuse to, let's say, get out of the car or provide your identification, like that's a red flag.
Big red flag.
And you've definitely made the situation so much worse.
And here's the common thing I hear is, I know my rights. No, I don't think you do, because if you did, you would understand what you're required to do in this
versus
moment.
Pennsylvania.
Exactly. And that's why I've arrested people and they've asked, hey, why did you do this? And I'm like, well, this is why I did. Like, I'll educate you. You ask questions. I'll tell you, hey, this is what you probably should know moving forward, because this will help you.
Yeah.
Like, we're not here to violate anybody's rights, but if ignorance is not an excuse, you need to know what you can and can't do, because when it comes down to it, you need to...
It's the law.
Yeah, it's the law. You have to comply. And that's the biggest thing.
When you're educating people, let's say I'm getting arrested. This is all figurative. Like, I'm getting arrested for being drunk on the streets, and I am not being tame, and I could be a danger
Public disorders.
Yeah. I could be a danger to the community.
Right.
I'm being arrested, and I say, I know my rights, and then you're trying to educate me. Like, what are some of my rights as I'm being arrested?
You're in public and you're intoxicated?
Yeah.
The minute that officer tells you, like, hey, you're being detained, it's at that moment, I wouldn't say you don't have rights, but you're lawfully detained. So you need to comply with what the officer's telling you to do. That's one of those things that, people misinterpret. When you're in a public space, there's an expectation to your behavior.
Yeah.
You can do what you want inside your home, but, the state of Tennessee, disorderly conduct just states in most basic terms that if I walk down the street and I yell loud enough for everybody turns around, like, what's that guy doing? That qualifies as disturbing the peace or disorderly conduct, right? So you can go to jail for that potentially. So you walking out of a bar and you're drunk, it might be in your best interest to just comply. Most of the time, officers will be kind of lenient. It's like, okay, let's get you taken care of.
You understand the environment,
Exactly.
like on Broadway or something. We understand the environment. You're letting loose, being wild. If you just listen.
Yeah. But the moment you start yelling and throwing your hands up, it's like, okay. Yeah.
So explain what detain means, because I think a lot of people automatically assume that when you say you're being detained, that means you're being arrested, which I know it doesn't mean that.
No, it doesn't. Pretty much the detainment is just a lawful reason for an officer to hold you. He has reasonable suspicion to believe that you've either done something wrong or you're about to do something wrong or in the process of doing something wrong. For example, I can walk through Walmart on patrol and I see a guy looking over his shoulder, he's stuffing something in his pants. Well, I don't know for a fact that he's stealing, but that type of behavior tells me he might be. So I can go over and say, hey, I need you to stop. and I can detain him in that moment to figure out if he's committing a crime or not. And that's lawful.
Yeah.
It just states, would a reasonable person believe he's stealing based off his behavior?
So is it basically like an investigation into the situation?
Correct.
Basically?
And that's what it is, investigative detention. That's what we call it. It's,
Got it.
Hey, for right now, you're being detained. Even putting handcuffs on someone. I've been on traffic stops where, the Constitution tells us that plain sight or plain smell. So if I smell narcotics, marijuana, if I see something in there, then the law gives me the right to search that car. So I've pulled people out of the car and I said, hey, I'm placing you in handcuffs because I'm going to search this car. You're not under arrest, but you are being detained. And that, for some reason, that just people like, am I going to jail? I'm like, slow down. Let's see what's in the car.
No, it's for my safety and yours.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want you to run. I don't know what's on your person. Yeah. So let's just keep everybody safe. And sometimes that's the best solution.
Yeah.
To just handcuff for a minute.
Yeah. So I think the cuffs is what scares everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, God. No. The meltdown begins.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the biggest challenge that you face day to day? I know it's hard. We kind of touched on like the day is not very typical. It changes. But what's the challenge that you face? Maybe weekly.
The challenge is being a supervisor. It's one thing when you're an officer, you're responsible for your life and your teammates, but being a supervisor, it's next level responsibility.
You're a supervisor?
Yeah.
So when people are like, give me your supervisor.
Yeah, I'm the guy that shows up and just say this. Calling a supervisor might not always be the best thing if you're in the wrong, because now you got to deal with two police officers.
Yeah.
So, by all means, if you know your rights and you feel like the officer's doing something wrong, get a supervisor.
Okay.
But if you're being difficult, you don't want two officers yelling at you to get out of the car. It's probably not But I would say that's the hardest part because you're responsible for so much.
Yeah.
There's this thing, vicarious liability, where if one of my officers does something and they get in trouble, I can be held responsible, both civilly and criminally, depending on my involvement. For example, one of my officers decides they want to chase a car. We have policy and procedures that sets the criteria for when we can and when we can't. If they step outside those bounds, it's my responsibility to tell them like, hey, cut it out. Done. If I don't do that, God forbid my officer hits a family and kills someone, that officer responsible, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part is managing, and I have a good team, so that's not a big concern, but that's something I have to look out for.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, what they're doing.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is a lot of responsibility. It is.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. We kind of touched on BLM earlier. Has the racial climate changed for you as a police officer?
Absolutely.
What have you seen?
Absolutely. I got out of the academy and was met with opposition from.
I was about to say, because you said 4 years.
Yeah. So I joined August of 2019. And 6 months later, we're entering into the summer of love, right? BLM, COVID. And I'm still passionate. I'm still passionate about it now. But at that point, I'm still just getting into it.
Yeah.
And I'm going back and forth with people on Facebook. And I had to pull myself away because at that time I wanted to defend everything.
Yeah.
And that brought a lot of tension between me and a lot of people that I considered friends, considered family. I don't know if you guys know, just recently here, we went national, my department, about the Uber driver that was tased.
Yes.
Yeah, that was my department.
What?
Yeah. And I was a supervisor that responded after it was over. And I got tagged in so much stuff. But like I said, people I thought I grew up with considering friends, like, oh, look at Cory. And I'm just like, wow. It's really like pick a side now. That was the biggest thing I kind of got from it. It's not like, hey, let's have a talk, let's discuss this.
No, it's
hey,
a
what's
side.
your opinions? Yes, it's pick a side and you've picked yours.
Wow.
Like so yeah, it's changed a lot. It was an adjustment for sure, and it still is because a lot of that stuff still lingers.
Yeah.
As far as the way the community interacts, and you never know what you're going to get. As a whole, the community I work for is very supportive of us. So I'm grateful for that. But you do get the people in there that doesn't feel that way.
They want to criticize. I think a lot of the times on social media, I will see people post body cam footage, or they will be posting about a media scandal about how a cop handled something. And they immediately, it's always like someone did something wrong. Like this cop should have done this. However, it's so funny because it's Karen on Facebook. Like, what would you do, Karen, with your all this experience that you have? You went through the academy training. Apparently, you know how to handle this situation. What would you have done?
Exactly.
And it's so interesting to see people giving their takes. Like the cop should have done this. This was negligent. Like especially George Floyd. A lot of like, they don't know how to handle this situation. There are, like you said, there are protocols. You go through training.
Right.
You have a team of people also trying to help to make a good decision on how to handle a hard situation. And it's interesting to see all these people giving their inputs and how things should have been handled. However, it's like you guys have so much responsibility because you are trying to keep your squad safe. You're trying to make a responsible decision, and you're also trying to keep the community safe. So there might be someone that's a threat that you have to contain because there's so many people at risk. Like you have a whole community of people that you also have to be worried about and make the best decision for them too.
Exactly.
And you just hear all these inputs on social media of, oh, you should have done this. And it's so easy for them to say with all of their experience.
It's a lot of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, because the Ma'Khia Bryant case, which I think was in Memphis, the girl came at another girl with a knife, and the officer shot the girl coming down with the knife.
That's an impossible situation.
Yeah.
You can't win.
Shoot her in the hand.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Moving target.
I can't believe we're still having that conversation. I had a Marine. I have the utmost respect for Marines and military, but I had a Marine ask me that before.
Oh my gosh.
Can't you guys shoot him in the foot? And I'm like, you're a trained marksman.
Yeah.
You know better than that. But yeah, that's that situation. I mean, I watched the video and it was like that officer could not have won.
Yeah.
No.
The only way he wins that if he's off that day.
Yeah.
But him responding, you watch a girl get stabbed or you shoot the girl that's stabbing her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you have to do things that is going to protect the most people.
Right.
You have to make the decision that's going to keep the most people safe.
Yeah, and he had the duty to act. Him standing by was not an option.
No.
Yeah.
So he did exactly what he's supposed to do. But I'm sure he didn't go home that night
and sleep.
Life as usual. No,
Yeah.
His life has changed.
No.
That's what people don't look at.
Yeah.
After these traumatic incidents, there's a victim. But that officer has to carry something away from that scene.
And it's heavy.
And it's very heavy.
And sometimes I'm sure when you make a decision, even like if I make a decision and I feel like I could have done better, you kind of beat yourself up over that. Like, is there something that I could have done that's different to have a different outcome? What could I have done differently? It replays in your head.
Exactly.
And I imagine when it's something like this and it's spread all over the media to make you question your decision because everyone else is, it makes it really hard.
Not to mention the video is more than likely it's chopped up.
Been edited.
It's been edited so it shows a certain
angle.
So it works for that news station whoever's pushing it out. It works for their
agenda.
They do
this so often.
Yeah, and even with the George, I mean, it was probably months before we got that
the
full
actual
video.
Footage.
It's like, what was it, 15, 20 minutes worth of what actually happened.
Exactly. That's the key word, actually.
Yeah.
But even now, no one still talks about it.
No one wants to talk about it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
They just want to ignore it and act like it didn't happen that way because it's been shoved down their throats and into their brains that no. It went down this way.
And it's like,
and you must talk about it as
if it went this way. They've seen the whole video.
Oh no. Of course they haven't.
No. People nowadays they want to watch the news. Yeah. They want to watch the news. They're like, hey, CNN, you tell me exactly what you want me to believe.
Yeah.
They want their narrative so they don't have to formulate their own opinion on it. Is there ever a time in your job where you came home and you didn't know if you would either come home that night or there was just like a very scary day where you felt like your maybe life could have been threatened as a police officer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. One time in particular, people are unpredictable.
Yeah.
There was a guy, we're in a station, and I just remember hearing someone like screaming at the top of their lungs.
Oh, gosh.
Outside the station. So we're walking around trying to figure out what is going on. So I walk outside and our police station is right next to a park. We got parents like, hey, they're just pointing.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing the yelling and I walk out to the parking lot and there's a guy walking towards the street and he's pushing over trash cans and he has his shirt off and I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Drugs.
No, that was the scary part. It wasn't drugs.
Oh, gosh.
This guy was just off his rocker. So I have to chase him down because at this point, I mean, he's a danger to the public himself, all of the above. And I catch up to him and I yell, I say, hey, he turns around and his eyes are just like dead. He's just like dead inside. And he's just staring at me. He's not listening to me. He's just staring at me. So at this point, I don't know.
Yeah, like you're like, this man's really unhinged.
Yeah, I don't know what he's going to do. Yeah, so about 30 seconds of me just firm to like, hey, you need to turn around. He turns around, but it's just like moments like that.
Yeah.
Where I could look back now and say, okay, I understand, what he was dealing with. But you don't know any of that before.
Right.
All you know is this guy is clearly not in his right mind.
Yeah.
I don't know what his intentions are.
Yeah.
I've just seen him destroying property and knocking things over. Who's to say he's not going to rush me? So moments like that, which happen a lot, you get called about a suspicious person, hanging around this area, and we go check it out. We don't know, this guy could be from 3 cities over, 3 states over, just committed a murder.
Yeah.
And he sees police and gets set off. So yeah, those type of moments happen a lot.
I've heard that domestic violence calls can get pretty scary.
Those are classified. You go through in the academy, they'll tell you that's the most dangerous call.
Yeah.
Besides the traffic stop, it's the most dangerous thing an officer can do because you have the potential for the aggressor, which more times than not is the husband, but there's been times where the wife is the aggressor or girlfriend. And you arrest the aggressor, and then a significant other is mad because now you're taking their loved one away, and then they turn on you. So it's so much that can go wrong. You just don't know. So you're going in to solve a family's problems. Sometimes it's physical. Sometimes it's just the threat of it being physical.
Yeah.
But Tennessee has these laws in place that kind of help us out a lot. It's like, hey, these people, somebody has to go most of the time.
Yeah.
They have to separate.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's dangerous. You don't know. In the state of Tennessee, everyone has a gun.
That was not, because that was a point I was going to make, is you're entering their dwelling and you don't know what's behind that door.
Yeah.
And they could just be waiting to ambush you.
And it's happened.
And that's happened.
It's happened. One of the most disturbing ones I've read was the one that happened in Hawaii a few years back, where these 2 officers walk up to a domestic and the guy just opens fire point blank. They're heading. It just just get ambush.
Because
just because.
It's so unpredictable. Like you said, like you have no idea who this person is.
Yeah.
You don't know their behavior. You don't know if they have mental illnesses.
Exactly.
You don't know if they're a drug user. You have no idea what kind of situation they could be in.
Yep.
And that, I feel like, is the scariest thing, right? Because like when you know a little bit about something, you're like, oh, okay, so like I can pull up this person's profile and like you can kind of get a background and like, oh, okay, so maybe they have had a past use of drugs. Like we pulled up their name. They have been arrested for using narcotics or something like that. You kind of can establish what kind of danger that could be on that call. But like when you have nothing, it's so scary because now you have to find out.
Exactly. Exactly.
Goodness gracious. Have you experienced any sort of, I guess, change in treatment as a Black police officer?
From the community or just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had people tell me that I shouldn't be doing this job because of that. I've been called just about every word.
Tom Cotton.
Yeah, all of that. And I'm just like, it's it was an eye opener. But I'm glad it happened.
Yeah.
Because like I said, 2020 showed me who my real friends are. It showed me who the people that I can really depend
care
on.
for you.
Yeah, and it's kind of tough, but I don't know if you guys listen to Jack Harlow.
I know who he is, yeah.
Okay, so I don't listen to a lot of his stuff, but there was one song that caught my attention when he said, like, the ones that hate me the most look just like me. That's how I felt in 2020.
Wow.
Right? When you talk about race, you talk about things like, the experience is going to be different for everybody. So by no means am I speaking on behalf of a group of people, but from my experience, the hate I got was not from white people. It was from people that look like me. And that was the biggest struggle, because now I have to snap out of this idea that, okay, just because we share the same immutable characteristics or traits that we're family or we're bro. Like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that's what really woke me up to a lot. And so I'm grateful for that time in my life because it helped me out. It changed my mindset on a lot of things and kind of put me on the right.
Yeah. Like you said, it's like the people that look like you that have the most judgment. And I feel like sometimes it could be because they see that you've made it out of whatever kind of situation and you're becoming different. Like you're stepping out and doing something else. Now you have authority. And the people that, you know, sometimes has done them wrong.
Right.
Like
Play
police.
the victim.
Yeah. They maybe have had a family member arrested and like their family member has been in jail for X amount of time. Then it's really just like scorn them with the police because they feel like the police did it to them and they don't have that responsibility on that person that did the crime.
Right.
And now you're fulfilling that role and maybe they see that and they are putting that anger on you.
Exactly. And that's all it is. It's taught, right? Each generation. I went into school, elementary school. This girl had to be maybe 7, 8 at the oldest. And, you know, kids see college, everybody's high-fiving me. This one girl, she points her fingers like, don't you ever go after my dad again. And she keeps walking. And obviously police arrested her dad in front of her, but her, as soon as she saw me, it just set her off. I'm like, she's 7. It kind of broke my heart because I'm like, she's scarred.
She doesn't know.
But the accountability factor is, hey, when dad gets out of jail, hey, let me explain to you what dad did.
And why he got there. But all she sees is probably like flashing lights, police officers, and her dad's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And like to her, that's probably like, that's why.
Yeah, it's the police did it.
Yeah, and they don't understand. They don't understand. No one taught them responsibility.
No.
Like they obviously didn't have a good role model for that.
That is so sad. It's this mentality of playing the victim to get out of the situations like we talked about earlier. It's just the accountability, the responsibility. It's take accountability for your actions and you won't have to play the victim. Like you don't have to put yourself into that pool of people that feel like they're owed something. Like tell me what this person did to you or what this group of people did to you personally. Like, how is it really affecting you to where you have to spread more hateful rhetoric, more, they want more diversity, but what they're doing is pushing everybody away.
Yeah.
They're causing more division by being so hateful.
Yep. And then they want you to think, I've been told so many times how I'm supposed to think. And I've had conversations with people like, well, why do you think I should think like that? Because the way I look. And you see the problem there? And then that's the issue. You know, a lot of people have a lot of biases that they don't realize they have. And it's like, just look in the mirror for a second and understand the thought and what just came out of your mouth.
Yeah.
So it's...
Candace Owens does a really good job about talking about what it's like being Black and not necessarily representing the Black community in the way that they expect her to.
Yeah. Because
she will say something and they're like, no, as a Black person, we're not accepting that.
Yeah.
Now you're stepping outside of the community and we don't want you representing us.
Right.
And so they say that she's a puppet or that because you're speaking not in the ways that they want to be spoken about or like it's not their values. They feel like they're just like, nope, you're not one of us anymore. And she's like spoken about it before. And they're like, just how do you feel about Barack Obama when he was president? Like, are you glad because there was finally a Black person in office? And she's like, no, because he doesn't represent what I believe in. Yeah. And so just because he looks like me doesn't mean I support him.
Right.
And I think like that's something that gets so misconstrued is like just because you guys, like she said, she's like culture and community is not just matching skin color.
Exactly.
It's about values and morals. She's like, it's much different. Like when you look at it that way, we don't all fall into the same category. No. So I just think like she's someone as controversial as she can be. It's good to see someone that's speaking up that goes against what sometimes the Black community wants her to say.
Right. She's necessary. She's very necessary. And it's like you said, you know, identity politics is why we're stuck with the VP. I won't say her name. But that, you know.
We just wanted a woman in office.
It's not about merit. It's so she checks all the boxes. It's kind of insulting.
Yeah.
You know, Thomas Sowell, he has this term that he uses like the bigotry of low expectations. It's like you put someone in this position based off, like I said, immutable characteristics, something they can't change about themselves. We don't care about their character, their values. None of that matters. It's like, let's check this box. So
yeah.
So does your department provide any sort of mental health evaluations periodically or anything like that?
No, there are organizations that, is HR. There are resources.
Yeah.
But I can't say it's one of those things that's, in the forefront.
Right.
And it's not a knock at my department. I think a lot of departments, there's so much going on nowadays that I don't think that's in the forefront.
Right.
Now, granted, I think if someone came forward, I absolutely believe that most departments would give them the resources. But is it something that's worked on proactively? I don't see it.
Yeah.
There's studies that show that, civilian citizens will see 2 to 3 critical incidents or traumatic incidents in their lifetime, where cops can see over 180 in their career.
Wow.
So you got someone dealing with this stuff on a daily, and they're expected to go about their business. Your day might consist of first thing in the morning, you're working a dangerous crash where a 4-year-old was tossed through the windshield.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what that cop has to do once he gets all that cleaned up, ambulance is gone?
Tell the family.
Yeah, tell the family, and then he has to go to the next call.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
You got 2 or 3 of those critical incidents happening. This cop he's feeling it right now, right? And then he has to go deal with someone who's just not being reasonable. And then he loses his cool. Wrong is wrong. He lost his cool, but let's look at the factors that led up to that.
Yeah.
Why is that officer still? There needs to be, and a lot of departments do this, but certain events that happen, I think as supervisors and leaders, we have to look and say, okay, this person probably needs
a break.
Go home.
Yeah,
go home.
Let's not leave them out here.
Yeah.
I've had my first suicide, guy shot himself. Horrible story. He was at home, shot himself. He was in his bed. His son came home. Didn't realize what happened. He just kind of peeked in the room and saw him in the bed and closed the door. So the next morning, we go and check it out, and he's gone. We go upstairs, like, his son is here. Wake him up. He realizes what happened. And, just the totality of everything that day kind of kind of shook me. But I had a supervisor who called and checked on me later at night. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's not just like, all right, thanks for, good day's work. But that's what's necessary. You have to check on your people. You have to have a gauge of where they are mentally. Emotional fitness is a big thing.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that, how much can I take? I'm also responsible for saying, hey, I think I've had enough for today.
Yeah.
I'm not good to anybody right now. But a lot of departments don't have that option. They're understaffed.
So it makes people are riding low on the things that they need to have to be able to do the job successfully because of the understaffment, because everyone wants to push this movement, defund the police.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
It's asinine.
The fact that people think that they don't need protection,
right?
And then something happens and they immediately call the police. And I'm like, oh, well, I thought you didn't need protection.
Exactly.
I'm confused. Which one do you want? And like you said, it's only making the situation worse because now you're understaffed and you need to have these people there. Like, no one can go home and take the rest of the day off because they had a really hard day.
Right.
And like they need to process. Now they can't do that because you want to defund them. And now they have to go back out and handle other hard situations after going through something like that. And it's just a domino effect. But I don't think people understand, like, no, we actually need more funds in the police. Like, we don't like what's happening. We should put more money into the police force.
Exactly.
Then we can send them to more training and like just have more protection and all of these things that unfortunately we don't have the resources to do because we don't have enough officers. We don't have enough time to be able to take staff out to go do more training. We don't have time for more money for more leaders. So it's really important. Like the reasons why they want to defund the police are the exact reasons why we should also fund the police.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I think it'll become an animal house. I mean, look at New York City.
Yeah.
People are taking it into their own hands now.
What is it? Chaz? Like, that's the perfect example of why we need
Portland in
law
general.
enforcement.
Portland and Seattle right now.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's an animal house.
That's the campaign for why we need it.
Yeah, and so the sad part, I think, was the 19-year-old that got shot in the Chaz. They didn't let police in.
No.
So the kid died.
They wouldn't even let the ambulance in.
Nope.
But the dad got upset with the police. And it's like,
your kid was
you live
in
here
that.
where you don't want police coming in. And you have made your own country or whatever, but you don't want our laws to come infiltrate your community.
Right.
And then you get upset when you don't have it. But it's like they're trying to prove a point until they need it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no, then it's too late.
Exactly. It's like Oakland right now. I think they're having an issue. Some of their activists down there are now crying out for a state of emergency. It's like, well, your policies introduced this crime wave.
Yeah.
You allowed it. You wasn't holding people accountable.
Nope.
Your police pull people off the street and you let them right back out. So
it's crazy.
It's terrible.
It's gonna get worse if people don't start waking up and realize like we need the police. There are laws set into place for a reason, and the police are there to protect and serve and to make sure that those laws are enforced, to keep you safe, to keep the community safe. And when we don't have that structure, people are then going to start taking it into their own hands, and it's going to go crazy. We're already seeing crazy stuff.
Yeah.
The guy on the subway train in New York City that was just arrested because he was trying to subdue that guy.
The one that he choked him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
There's I think there's a duty we have as not even police officers, just as human beings, to protect one another.
Yeah.
That's just my personal belief. If we walked outside right now and saw someone getting robbed or attacked, I think we have a level of responsibility at some level. I'm not saying to go out and start trying to be Superman.
Sure.
But yeah, like you see it where these people are watching this stuff happen with cell phones. They're recording it, but no one's stepping in.
Nope.
And it makes me sad to see.
Like, put down the cell phone.
And help.
Or help. Well, first, call 911.
Yeah.
Call 911, then help if you can.
My problem is when they're like I understand kids one thing, but when I see grown, able-bodied men standing around, it bothers me.
Oh yeah,
like men, like they're the pillars of society, like the protectors, providers, and you're sitting there with a cell phone.
Yeah, whether you're a cop or not, you still have duty.
Exactly. There's a.
But if you're a cop, you have a responsibility to uphold that duty.
Yep.
But citizens still have duty.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are just negligent to it.
No,
yeah. So we touched on more training for police officers. And I know that you train in jiu-jitsu.
Correct. Why
and how did you start doing that?
So our department was doing Krav Maga for defensive tactics. You heard about that?
Yeah.
So we were doing that for a few years. I went and did the instructor course, and I loved it.
Yeah.
But the only issue I had with it was that it wasn't enough for us to cover ground stuff.
Grappling.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of these videos online, these cops fighting.
Wrestling.
It's not boxing matches.
No.
They're on the ground fighting for their weapons, fighting for their life.
Yeah.
So I had seen posts on police pages about jiu-jitsu, and I'm like, I'll go try it out.
Yeah.
I think it'd be pretty cool. And let me tell you, the first 6 months, I hated life. It took maybe a month for me to realize, like, I was dreading going to class, but I knew I needed because you don't know anything. You have to roll with the veterans.
Yeah.
And they're not taking it easy on you.
Yeah.
They're not going full out, but, it's done a lot more for me mentally.
Yeah.
Because it creates critical thinking.
And
how can I get out of this bad
confidence.
spot? Confidence.
Yeah.
Just handling and controlling people. I would encourage any police officer on the sound of my voice to go sign up for it. It's I'm 2 years into it and I'm still learning a lot.
Yeah.
But
I see all your posts.
Yeah. It's become a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not for impatient people.
Yeah.
It's one of those skills that it takes time to develop.
Yeah.
So, but I love it. I can go out there. I'm confident. I feel like I can somewhat handle my own.
Yeah.
Versus, most academies, this isn't a knock towards any academy, most academies, their defensive tactics is, take out your baton, you hit them in certain nerve points in the leg, and you say, get back. And it's like, well, it's not going to be that effective in a lot of scenarios. So that needs to be a staple of learning jiu-jitsu. I think New Jersey actually is mandating it statewide for all their officers.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So people are starting to wake up to the reality of what's needed. And that has to be one of the things we talk about de-escalation.
Yeah.
If I can control you and keep you from reaching to do anything that's going to cause me to do something more serious.
You move, your leg breaks.
Exactly. That's one of those things. That's the de-escalation tactic.
Yeah.
If I can keep you from doing anything that's going to raise the level of this incident, then let's do it.
Yeah. So you said that's helped mentally for you.
Yep.
I read this because you said that you kind of wanted to touch on mental health and maintaining that mental health and balance within the force.
Mm-hmm.
In 2018, Congress passed the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act, and that recognizes that law enforcement agencies need and deserve support in their ongoing efforts to protect the mental health and well-being of their employees. Good mental and psychological health is just as essential as good physical health for law enforcement officers to be effective in keeping our country and our communities safe from crime and violence. So what does that mean to you?
That means someone's paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, as legislators, that's what I like to see.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on right now that I'm like, we don't care. Let's get to like the 1 in 5 police officers have PTSD.
Yeah.
And 1 in 4 has contemplated suicide. I mean, and you put those numbers, like I said, 800,000 cops. These are people that are responsible for public safety.
Yeah.
So if their mental and emotional health is not important, then how effective can they be?
Yeah.
And not only that, it's one of those things like these people, you go through a 25-year career, you see all these critical incidents, and they're like, oh, here's your retirement. Thank you for your service. And, you know, a lot of cops have a problem with that. I forget exactly what the number is, but a lot of the stats show that a lot of cops die real soon after retirement. Right? That purpose is gone. It's kind of like, well, what's left? But is that something that can be prevented?
Yeah.
Let's rewind 20 years and let's start taking these steps to protect your mental health, and let's see where that takes you into a healthy retirement.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of that. So that was a great bill that they introduced, but the issue with that is that it created grants and resources, but the departments have to go get it.
Yeah.
Right. The federal government is saying it's here, but you got to come get it. We're not going to come and hand it to you. So
of course.
So that's the thing. Like, it's theirs, the resources there, but departments have to get up and go for it.
Yeah. Well, to shift gears, I asked you to give me 3 butt pucker moments while on duty. If you don't watch Donut Operator, you don't know what that means, but go watch his channel. But butt pucker just means like,
yeah. In no particular order, I'll give you a few. So,
all right.
The most prevalent one being, I was maybe a month into this job.
Yeah.
And I'm training with one of the guys. He's an exceptional officer, but he's one of the officers that bad stuff follows him around. Like, he knows how to find it. So we're riding through the Walmart parking lot, and this guy comes down the wrong aisle. So, okay, let's see what this guy's about. We end up doing a little investigation, trying to figure out what he's back. I'm to find out this guy's wanted by the ATF.
Oh.
Yeah, so bad guy.
Twist.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, there's so many emotions today. So we go through, we follow him. But he knows this is we following him.
Yeah.
So he says, okay, I'm going to go to Taco Bell. So he goes to Taco Bell drive-thru.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to turn my lights on, and the trainer was like, no, just wait. Let him get his food. It's like, what are we doing? So he pulls out, he's okay, now turn your lights on. He's going to run.
Yeah.
He runs.
Uh-huh.
We hit the interstate. It's like maybe 2, 3 in the morning, so there's no traffic.
Oh,
but we're flying. And I'm like, I've never driven a car this fast.
Oh, wait, he went to talk about 2 or 3 in the morning?
Oh, my God.
Oh, you know he was.
Yeah, he was trying to avoid us.
He's just eating his Taco Bell, flying down the interstate.
You know he was feeling good.
So imagine, like I said, I'm a month into it.
Oh, my
and
God.
I'm chasing this guy who's wanted by the ATF, and it's just like we're flying on the interstate, and I'm just like,
oh, no.
And I got my FTO. He's sitting next to me, and he's trying. You can tell he's trying to keep his cool, but at the same time, he's like, "Oh God." we end up getting the guy. He ends up wrecking out. But that's one of those moments when I realized, like, oh, okay, this is it. This is it. That's what I signed up for. At any moment, it can go down, and you know, driving on the interstate at 60, 75 miles an hour is scary enough.
Yeah.
But imagine chasing someone, and they're going in and out of traffic, and it's like there's so many variables in those type of incidents where, like you said, like that, and it's over.
Yeah.
That was one. The second and probably most scariest thing was hearing one of my officers call for help.
Oh, no.
It's like a gut-wrenching, like there's anger, there's worry. She ended up getting into a scuffle. And, you know your people's, your husband calls you. You hear his voice, you know something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
So she gets on, and her voice is high, and she screams out the code for a fight.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever driven that fast and they're trying to get to her. But yeah, that's one of the, because it's like you want to get there and help, but you have to deal with people just going about their business. They don't want to get out the way.
Yeah.
Move,
people.
And while I'm trying to get there, I have to worry about their safety. I don't want to run people off the road.
Yeah.
I want to still somewhat kind of respect the traffic laws that I have to respect. But I'm surprised I didn't pull that steering wheel off, because you're just like so tense driving. That's probably the scariest one. And same officer that I was with training is the second incident.
Oh yeah, I gotta meet this guy.
Yeah, tell you about these. So we talked about the kids earlier, and part of the process for them getting in is just stealing cars. So there was an epidemic of that just happening all summer. So we kind of get ahead of it. We figure out what complex they're in, and we get there, and I'm walking around, and we see a car speed off. We get back in the car, get behind them. They do a big circle, come back into the complex. The car starts slow rolling, and it's got to be like 8 kids.
In one car.
Jump out the car and go in different directions. And I literally get pushed out the car with my trainer officer. He's like, go. Somebody.
Yeah.
So I'm running. So it's, like I said, it's nighttime. You got 8 bodies going 8 different ways. And I hear a crash.
Oh, gosh.
They never put the car in park.
No.
So their car, so you got sirens, you got kids screaming, you got police yelling stop, you got that big crash, and it's just like, it's stressful.
Oh my gosh.
So it's moments like that that's just like, and you look back over, it's like, man, that could have went really bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But by the grace of God, it's like, okay, things worked out. So
wow.
Those are probably 3 big moments where I was just like,
those are crazy.
And he still hasn't quit.
He's still here.
Not going
Still
anywhere.
loves his job.
Still love it.
Love that. Well, I'm so glad that you made it over here and were able to do this with us and to share your stories, because I think it's important for people to hear the perspective of a law enforcement officer.
Absolutely.
Because it's something that is not widely heard enough.
Nope.
And we can't imagine what you go through day to day, what your department goes through day to day, what any police officer goes through day to day. And that's why we fully support everybody in blue. Mm-hmm. Like, Thin Blue Line is a real thing, and we support you and we support everybody.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Much appreciated. It's an honor to serve, and like you said, I'm not going anywhere. It's a calling, so it's what we do.
Well, Cory, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for coming on Girls Gone Right.
Thanks for the invite.
All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.